Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fueling the Future in a Traditional System. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to my talk. My name is Carmen Jarvis, and I'm going to be talking about how to be successful mostly into a traditional system when you're running a CTE program or a pathway program. I am the engineering pathway lead teacher at Sanger High School in Sanger, California, and I started this pathway in 2014. Before I start with anything else, I would like to let everybody know that during my sessions, you're welcome to use the question and answer box in the presentation there, and also through the chat. I will be using pop-up polls during the presentation, and any unanswered questions will be addressed by email. And before I start, I would like to publish the first poll. I would like to know a little bit about you. So if you can answer this poll, I really appreciate it. It says, tell me about your current role. Is everybody seeing the poll? It's the first time I'm using this poll, so I'm trying to see. Let's see. Well, I'm going to continue on, and we'll see. We will see the answers in just a moment. But just my presentation is mostly for any type of person interested in having an engineering pathway established, or if you're at the beginning of establishing one, or if you want to grow your pathway, giving you some hints on how to be successful within the growth of your pathway. Let's see, I see some answers coming through. Okay. All right. Next, let's talk about what you're going to be seeing in the presentation. I'm going to let you know a little bit about Sanger Unified School District. I'm going to talk to you about the pathway at Sanger Unified, specifically what we offer in our high school. I'm going to talk to you about the pros and cons of running an engineering pathway in a traditional school system. Tips for success, and this is the best part. This is where I wanted to share some best practices with you all. And we're going to go back into questions and answers. Sanger Unified is located in Fresno County in the Central Valley of California. A lot of ag going around in our area. We're a Title I school district, so 70% of our families are low-income families. Our demographics are mostly consisting of 74% Hispanics, 11% white, and 6% of our students are English learners. That doesn't count all the ones that have just passed the classification of English learner, but they're still struggling with a little bit of their English language. 59% of our graduates meets UC and CSU entrance requirements, which in the state of California is 51%. So we feel very proud that we're above the average in the state, given our demographics. We offer in our high school, we only have one high school in our school district, and we have 3,100 plus students in our own campus. So it is a humongous campus, and we have a traditional public school system. 5 pathways are already established on campus, and those are the wonderful Ag Career Prep, which is mostly concentrated on agricultural interests, Project Lead the Way Engineering pathway, the education pathway, digital media pathway, health and science pathway. We have, every year, we can only accept 75 freshman students per year in the pathway because of technology limitations and classroom limitations, as well as teachers. I'm the only full-time teacher in the pathway, but I also have 2 more teachers that are part-time teaching engineering. They also teach science. Going on the pros and the cons of a traditional school system. Well, on the pros, when you have students that are signing up for the pathway, most of the students are college and trade bound. They already have an interest in their in the field in which they're signing on for the pathway. In my case, in engineering, usually they high interest and engagement because they wanted to learn about that particular topic and subject. We have small classes, an average of 24 students per class. It is all project-based learning, meaningful learning that connects with the students' interests, and they really want to know more about the profession. Most times you can witness the students' growth from the very beginning of not knowing anything about the concept or the pathway to becoming very successful students going into secondary college education. And it is amazing to see the growth of those students. And for me, that is a priceless bonus of being the engineering pathway teacher. Cons, there are many cons, although the pros, even though there are small quantities, they are very fulfilling on the pros, and that's why I stay in it. The cons are the pathway competes among other pathways in the school and non-pathway curriculums. So it is hard to recruit. We have all our engineering classes are honor courses, and they have high rigor. So some students is like, why should I join you versus joining an easier elective? Because they are elective. We have multiple preps, requires a lot of planning and preparation. I have 3 preps, and I've been having 3 preps since 2014, since I started. Classroom management, student retention, teacher schedule may vary year after year depending on your enrollment, especially after the first year, because you don't retain all 100% of the students that enroll on the freshman year. Classroom management could be challenging. A lot of the students, they get different sense of direction because everything going on. It is a project-based environment, so they have different routes they want to go, and they think that it is break time, is an elective after all. So it is important that you set expectations from the very beginning to make sure that they understand that these are honors courses, and even though they're elective, they require attention and dedication. Also, you have to work on student autonomy. A lot of the lessons and concepts that you go through, the students have to do a lot of online learning. Even though we are in the classroom, we have different methods of teaching. So they have to grow into their student autonomy and be responsible of their learning as well. And a lot of non-paid time. I coach, I run clubs, I have after-hour enrichment, and it is time that I don't get paid. I don't have stipends, but I do it for the love of my pathway. So that's something that you have to keep in mind when you're teaching in the pathway. Let me see. Do I have any questions? Any questions so far on my environment and what is Sanger High School and our pathway? One more thing that I want to tell you guys about is that we went the route of manufacturing in the engineering pathway. We have, that you in Project Lead the Way, you can take a different specialization. So we have, we decided to go to teach computer integrated manufacturing on the 3rd year. So we dedicate our pathway into a manufacturing environment. Question is, what is the demographic split between the engineering pathway and others? The ag pathway, it is the biggest pathway that we have. They don't have limitation in terms of technology. So when it comes to the split, I will say that they enroll about 150 students, freshman students every year, where we only have the capacity for 75. The education pathway, it is relatively small. They only get like maybe no more than 30 students a year. the digital media is not a complete 4-year pathway. So they kind of like, a lot of the students are like in my engineering pathway, they take some of the courses that are offered in the digital media pathway, and they still can be, they use some of their elective time, they can still be in fully into the engineering pathway. And for the health pathway is new. It only been running for 2 years, so it is relatively small. So the engineering pathway is the second biggest pathway in the school. What is the demographic split? Let me see. How do you promote your PLTW engineering pathway, since there are so many these directions the students are being pulled? And that is one of the things that we're going to be sharing, how to be successful. And that's what I'm going to go into next. So what made us so successful? Because in reality, there are 3,100 plus students on campus, and to try to pull and retain them is quite difficult. So one thing that I did from the very beginning is I had a long-term vision. I was given, when I first started, I was given a grant that I only had 25 students. It was one classroom of 25 students, and we didn't have anything else other than that class. It was the freshman introduction to engineering design for PLTW. But I am a former engineer, and I work in industry for 15 years. And I was like, well, the only way that this is going to be successful is by having a long term. And I start working with the counselors and the community about how can we make this a long term? What is it? What is the carrot for my students to stay in the pathway? And looking into what benefit the students into staying is how this course progression was developed. And what I found out is that I compete tremendously with the AG pathway, because the AG pathway gets funded by wonderful company. They basically gives a lot of money, and the students are able to get an associate degree from a junior college in town. So I needed to implement some dual enrollment courses. I needed to implement AP and AG approved courses, and I need to give it, making sure that the curriculum was approved by CTE standards so I can get money. So I can gain money from Perkins to be able to implement and purchase things. So in here in the screen, you can see my 4-year curriculum, course progression, and I embedded also some of the other courses that some like the digital media and other. I gave the opportunity for students to take also other electives. It is also embedding the requirements of a 4-year college requirements for engineering. So calculus and physics are encouraged, and they should be enrolling to those courses if they're going to be attending college later on. I also like to offer certifications opportunities and encourage the students for certification. And this is when Solid Professor came into place in our curriculum. We purchased Solid Professor about 2 years ago, and it was a lifesaver when it came to certification and prepping the students for courses. Also, it was a lifesaver doing distance learning, I must tell you, when we went into distance learning on March 13. Any questions about the course progression? I would like to encourage people to toss in questions as we go. I wanted this to be interactive, especially when we're sharing best practices. So if you have any questions regarding this slide and the course progression, feel free to add questions into it, into the Q&A section. Other tips for success that I would like to share with you are create a cohort professional learning community, PLC, involving core classes. We have teachers from math, science, engineering, and construction, because for my 4th year class, the EDD class, the students fabricate a prototype, and I embedded the construction class into the senior year, as you saw in the course progression, and it's mandatory. You have to take it in order to be a pathway completer. So we collaborate, we meet every week, and we collaborate and make sure that our core classes are embedding and enhancing the learning of the core classes. We create partnerships with industry, colleges, community, and feeder schools. I became really familiar to what the needs are for the college programs, especially Fresno State and Cal Poly Pomona and San Luis Obispo, and try to make sure that my students were prepared to attend, to enroll into those programs. I wanted to reduce the gap that was in between high school, a learning gap between high school and college. And I focused that a lot at the very beginning when I was trying to develop the course progression. Also, as you can see from the slide, we participate in many community events, such as the Manufacturing Day, where the students have the opportunity to go and visit other manufacturing in town, manufacturing industries in town, and visit their operation. I bring in colleges on campus, and I take my students to colleges. And the feeder schools, those are my future customers, and I need to make sure that I let them know what we got to offer and what is it so important for them to be interested in the engineering pathway. How do you promote? Let me see. Let me see. I have another question. Let's see. Just curious. What do you teach in the third and fourth year? In the third year, I teach computer integrated manufacturing. In the fourth year, I teach the ETD class, engineering design and development. More tips for success. I develop an enrollment strategy and get involved in the enrollment process. I don't leave the enrollment of my pathway just for the counselors. At the beginning, I find out that the counselors have so many things to worry about. And so it is very difficult for them to learn what the benefits are of engineering. And they don't even understand sometimes what engineering is. So I am very active into the enrollment strategy. I make sure that I send information to their 8th grader homes. I attend 8th grader enrollment and registration meetings. And I get them involved into activities throughout the year. Not only the 8th graders, but I start getting involved with students from 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Okay. Next, I enroll students in competitions, conferences, and job shadow. And I realized this is going to be one of the most challenging things this year due to distance learning. So I'm in the look for virtual competitions because I want to continue giving the opportunity to my students on enhancing and promoting and showcasing their learning, as well as learning how their career is going to look like later on when they are graduating from college. So I need to, that's something that I'm right now looking, and if you want to collaborate on that with me, I will be happy to do so, because I just came across Autodesk has some competitions that they might be expanding into virtually. I don't know yet, but and I'm going to be looking for that. Do your feeder schools have the LTW gateway? If so, do you think it does a lot to get the students interested in your program? I only have one feeder. One is one of the small feeders that has gateway. The others, we have 4 feeders. The biggest feeder that has about 900 freshmen coming into the school does not. They do offer STEM classes, but they do not have officially gateway or launch. So what I do is I make sure that I bring those students into the school on campus, and I design. For example, I have one day that is called the Engineering Day, and through that day we put different rotations. It's like a little conference for the students, and we let them pick and choose which route they wanted to take. And during that day, they can have programming, electrical experience, construction. They have built bridges. They have robotics competition, VEX robotics, little bot competition, just to get them a feel of the little things that they're going to be learning and they're going to be doing while in the pathway. So I also attend open houses in the school theaters, and we have a presentation table every time there is an open house. So we bring our toys and projects, like the marble sorter for POE has been always a big success project to demonstrate. The kids get interactive with it. We bring the VEX bots so they can play with them. Anything to make the kids start interested at an early age is important. Let me see. I'm looking for other questions. Okay. Are you familiar with the new IED curriculum in PLTW? This course directed to honor students, a con in your talking point on a previous slide. Yes, I am familiar with the new IED curriculum. We are going to still embedding the art part of it, because one of the things that I wanted to mention is to make room for more electives and more worth taking classes in the course progression. I embedded the art requirements, so my class is considered also an art elective, so the students don't have to take art. Let me see, this course directed to honor students. The course, we're in the process, to be honest with you, we're in the process on deciding whether we're going to go into Fusion 360 or if we're going to stay with Inventor. That's something that we are not sure yet. I believe that I like the new IED curriculum because it has a lot of more hands experience into it. I like that they're using a lot more into the 3D printer. They're able to fabricate and use what they're fabricating. And I like that portion a lot. A lot of my students, they were kind of like they will leave sometimes the lose interest into the pathway because it has very little hands-on. Yes, it has the challenges or whatever, but a lot of theory teaching. And I'm glad that we have more hands-on activities in the new curriculum. So Mark, if I didn't answer your question, maybe if you want to elaborate a little bit more about that, I just want to make sure that I touch bases on your question. Let's see, I have, let me check if I can see other questions. Why the, how do you promote? Okay, continue on with the slides. Also tips for success. Keep up with the latest in education and industry trends and needs. Don't forget those soft skills. It's very, it's funny that we heard about it with the Microsoft speaker presentation, Anthony, about talking about soft skills. And this is something that I totally encourage all 3 engineering teachers to make sure that we definitely have this in mind. And this is one of the strong points and strong skills that we can teach our students in this pathway. And I have an example of a student, Deisha. I'm going to try to play her video, and maybe and if you can let me know through the chat whether you can hear it or hear the video, because it is really nice to hear how the pathway had impacted Deisha. And let's try this.
I was in the Project Lead the Way pathway at Sanger High for 4 years.
Can you guys hear it?
When I first entered high school, I was an extremely shy student. You'd find me in the back of the class, completing my work, or in group projects, you'd find me contributing a lot of ideas, but not really being an active participant member. And
Sorry about that.
Participating in their completion. This was in part because I was shy, yes, but it was also because the typical classroom setting really prioritizes the completion of the work rather than the actual collaboration that goes into it. And Project Lead the Way, unlike those classrooms, focus more on how are you working with other students and how can you do that better. What PLTW did was allow me to present my ideas while also uplifting those of others. When I participated in challenges through the program, I really learned the value of using my peers. In order to complete time-oriented tasks, it was really vital that everyone plays an active role in its completion. And through presenting projects in class and in competition, I gained confidence through articulating and communicating the ideas of the group and what it had accomplished. And besides gaining confidence, I also gained leadership skills. This was not only through vocalizing my own ideas, but asking others in the group what their ideas were and implementing them as we saw fit. Being able to place faith in others has become a really important aspect coming into college, because it gives me the courage to ask others for help when I need it. And other soft skills, such as team building that I've learned through the pathway, have helped me share with other students my experiences and my ideas in class. And in that way, everyone, including myself, has benefited much more from our education.
Okay, so I want to make a point that Deja, for example, she was like in the engineering field, the engineering classes are very, the numbers of female engineers and the number of female engineering students are very low. When I was back in the 80s, an engineering student, we were only 5%. And on top of that, I'm from Puerto Rico, I'm Hispanic, and that the numbers were very low to find someone like me, a female Hispanic engineering student. And it is sad to say that the numbers have not gone up tremendously yet. We are about 20% of the in the market, and it's sad. I wish that by now we'll be like a lot higher. So whenever I see, I encourage all my students all the time, but when I see females, it is something that I want to make sure that they are not sitting in the back of the room, like Deja was saying. If you see in the picture, Deja on the left of this of the star, that was Deja as a freshman student. Deja was very shy. She will not collaborate much with the students. She was quiet. She collaborated on her own way, but her voice was never heard. And even though a lot of the times she will give the answers and the ideas to her fellow teammates. And so one day I did put her aside and said, your voice is important. I wish that you take it upon develop more leadership skills and feel confident that you are able to speak in this classroom. It's a safe zone when it comes to us our engineering gigs in here. And the picture on the right is Deja as a senior participating in a competition where she took the role as the leader of her team. The team ended up winning, and it was I was extremely proud of her. And that is why I believe that those soft skills, is not just content, is so important to integrate in your curriculum. I do have a question. What do you mean by embedding course like digital media? Did you embed the course into your pathway? Is it a year-long course, or do you embed the standards into your engineering course? What I meant by that is that I encourage the students to sign up for the one-year course of AP Computer Science, which is part of the digital media pathway, and also to sign up for the one-year course of the making. There is a class that in the digital media they have to make. Oh my gosh, they have to make applications. And so what I encourage my students is to take, for example, physical education in the summer, so they can have that PE class time frame free and they can sign up for other classes. So it is taking classes of 1 year long classes from the other pathway, from the digital media pathway. And I just wanted to mention that I partnered with the computer science teacher, because the AP Computer Science, for several reasons. I wanted to make sure that what he was teaching, it was enhancing also what we're teaching. He teaches a lot at the beginning, he was teaching a lot of just Java-based, very simple algorithms and whatever. So I encouraged him to start using Vex and start going into C++. And so he is switching his curriculum as well. And most of his students are coming from my pathway. Not a question, but I agree with your comment on ID lacking some excitement. I liken it to the kids signing up for the written class, thinking it's a creative writing class, and then finding out it is a mechanic or writing class. The question, approximately what % of your IED students continue into POE? Into POE, we have a lot, about 85% of the students going to POE. When we start losing them is when it start going now into the junior year. For some reason, they start getting more, they want the rigor of the classes becoming a factor. They start going like, oh, maybe I want to take this easier. My friend is taking this and they have more free time. So I'm going to tell you a few things that I do for that. Because by the time they're seniors, we have about 70% of our enrolling freshman students. And what I've been doing is I've been trying to outreach into other programs. For example, in the EDD class, I embedded I don't know if anybody of you guys have heard about NASA Hunch, and it is the opportunity for students to develop prototypes for real life problems the astronauts are currently having in the International Space Station, and now it's expanding into for the lunar module. And so we have participated already 2 years in a row, and students that are in the EDD class are able to pick a project and go on with that. And I'm going to tell you a really fascinating story about this program. It's called NASA Hunch, and I think everybody should Google it if you're teaching EDD. The program, like I said, is free at no cost. And if your team is one of the finalists winning team, and they are able to visit, they're invited to visit Houston and go to the Johnson Space Center there and present their project, their prototype, to NASA engineers and NASA astronauts, as well as exhibit their project into an open area where it's no longer only for NASA employees, but for anybody, any visitors that are involved. Sorry about that. For any visitors that are involved in visiting the center that day. So it is fascinating to see that that the students are able to do that. 2 years ago, we took this group of students. There were 4 students. First time they were even on a plane, never mind what they were accomplishing, which is presenting their prototype in such a tremendous environment. So I encourage everybody to look into that. It's a nationwide program, and we are the only ones in the Central Valley of California participating at this point. In addition to that, I encourage one of my all my feeders. They open a contest for a video contest about, they give a topic every year and they open it up for the junior high students. And one of our feeders participated in this video contest, and they won. Their video went broadcasted nationwide and won. So it is amazing the things that we are accomplishing in this little town of Sanger, California. Let's see. I have some questions in here. Let's see what. Thank you for the comments about retention. And that's why I'm going to share with you what I do for retention. Okay, so this is my list. I am very busy because my other 2 teachers are not full-time. They also teach science. I'm involved in VEX. They're involved in FIRST Robotics. So it is super. I try many things. One of my goals is every year to bring something new or to replace it by something that is newer. So, for example, the Sanger High School Pathway Night, we do have a Pathway Night, and I make sure that the booth for engineering pathway is very interactive, so it attracts a lot of the students, and then we can also give information. We give information about all the classes that we offer that night. The parents come, which is also very important. And I also always highlight how many college credits they're able to get. In our course progression, our students can leave with 32 plus transferable college credits. So, and that is always a little key for parents to say, ooh, maybe I do want to start joining that pathway. One thing that I do that I started is the Sanger High School Invitational Design Challenge. And I'm going to tell you what I do with that one. I started inviting other schools to compete against us. And then I also made a junior division where we invite the feeders and they have a junior team and they have the same design challenge. This is a 3D modeling design challenge, just like the Chevron design challenge, but I make the project for them to do, but it followed a little bit the format that the Chevron design challenge does. And in the junior category, they can use any type of 3D modeling. My feeders, some of them use Tinkercad up to Fusion. So they have the opportunity to compete regardless of what they use, just to start exploding, pushing into their creativity and the interest in engineering. So we have two divisions. The students leave with prizes and they're all pumped up. And this is one event that even the teachers at the junior high, they're constantly calling me, when is it going to be this year? There is something that they really look for. I mentioned to you that I have the engineering day. We do job shadowing. We compete in some competitions at Fresno State that I collaborate quite a bit with the engineering in the School of Engineering, the Lyle School of Engineering at Fresno State. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure that my classes are, I'm preparing the students for the program, as well as making sure that they can open up opportunities for the students in at the high school level for competitions. And we have two competitions we participate with them. Is the concrete beam competition, and it's also the prototype competition, which then if they win on that one, they're able to present their prototype project at the engineering senior night at the college level. And so far we've been presenting for 3 years. My students, they're the only high schoolers in that event, and they have professional project boards and everything. And sometimes, unless they see the guests coming through the projects, unless they really see the symbol that it is a high school, they have no idea that that is a high school level and not a college level. So it's pretty impressive. Any questions regarding events that or comments? Let's see. I'm looking at the questions. Our school has only one full year of engineering design course. What is your suggestion in combining your pathway all into 1 year? What will you focus on primarily? Currently, we are using IED curriculum in PLTW. Kitty, this is your question, and I'm trying to see what is your suggestion in combining your pathway all into 1 year. Combining my pathway all into 1 year, I think that you're going to lose, meaning teaching all 4 classes into 1 year. I think that you're going to lose a lot of the experiences and learning that the students can get if you have the 4 year. If you only have 1 year, I will say that to lose the specialization and then focus on teaching what is it that they're going to be getting the most prepared for the secondary level. If they are going to be in engineering, for example, IED, and I will embed it some sort of a prototype like EDD, and POE, for example, has I tell you, POE class, I think is fantastic. It gives the students a little bit of an overview of so many disciplines of engineering that I will hate for you not to have that class in the whole year. Let's see. We're a very tiny school district. Last year I had 12 ninth graders and 3 8th graders. 6 are taking POE. 1 other was enrolled initially, but he will do the coming year online. Yes, I don't think, because when it comes to funding, that's the only problem, that sometimes you might encounter difficulty getting funds for a small environment. But I think that having, doesn't matter the size of the class for you to be able to be successful into implementing a pathway or implementing these classes. What kind of funding have you acquired from your program? We use a lot of the CTE Perkins. One of the things that I had to make sure was that I took also the industrial technology CSET. So I got certified with that, and that gave me the ability to get Perkins. So make sure that, and we also have all the requirements that CTE requires for the pathway to be certified, a CTE certified pathway, and that opened up the door for Perkins. So yeah, having those funds has been very helpful. Is the design challenge just a series of use this, complete this, that, or something else? The design challenge, basically, the students do not know what they're going to be designing. They have to 3D model it. They have to sketch it and 3D model it. And they really have no idea what they're doing until the day of. They're forming teams of 3. And when they get there, they find out about what the design brief is. So they have only 5 hours to complete their design and present. They present to a panel of professionals. I enlist professionals from the industry, local industries, all engineers or professors in Fresno State or our community college. So, and they judge them. So they are judged based on presentation skills, technical skills, marketability of their design, and manufacturability of their design. Let's see. What was the name of the free program you mentioned with NASA? It is spelled Hunch, Hunch. And if you go NASA Hunch, you will be able to find that program. And it is, I tell you, I cannot say enough about it, because they have opened up the interest in the EDD class and the opportunities the students have to demonstrate their creativity and their design skills. So NASA Hunch, Hunch. Any suggestions how to find an AutoCAD file, plagiarism, or other submitted remotely? Okay, so this is one of the problems that we're having, and I'm going to be running out of time, but a lot of the misconceptions sometimes when the students come into the pathway on a project-based learning environment is that they think that it is all for all. Like, for example, your idea is my idea. So we're in a team and we're going to copy everything. And so that's one thing that I work with my students from the day one, that it is they have to have their own ideas. They can elaborate from it, but they work together and they all have to be participants, including their projects. So I do a lot of stages into my grading when it comes to 3D modeling. I give them a project that has stages, and I said, okay, now this is what you're going to be completing, and I see in class what they're doing and what stage they are, and I can monitor their progress to make sure that it is not a copy version of their design. Let's see. How will your students do group work in a masking distance classroom situation? We start this Thursday. I start soon next week. Okay, so the plan is that we're going to be having live sessions, and we use Canvas, and I'm going to be using Canvas group when it comes to the team environment. And during my live sessions, we're going to have 30 minutes per of live session, and then office hours after that. And during the live sessions, not only I'm going to be teaching the concept, but I'm going to having the students do live work where I can see I can see that they're working with me. And then during the group environment, we are using Canvas group, and I'm going to limit the groups. I usually have groups of 3 or 4. I'm definitely limiting the groups in 2 now, no more than 2. And then what I might do is I'm going to might join later on groups of 2 into 4, those 2 to collaborate together, but making sure that they can develop their own autonomy, and they're working on their own ideas as well. So I suggest to use Google Classroom or Canvas when it comes to that grouping situation. Will you be willing to share the challenges you have used? Thea, what do you mean? Would you be willing? Challenges that I have encountered in developing the pathway, aside from having competition in terms of enrollment, tons of planning. I spend a lot of time planning, and making sure that everything gets planned well. And during distance learning, it's going to take even more planning and communication. I read a lot. I look for opportunities constantly. That's how I found Hunch. So it takes a lot of my time away from my home, which that was one of the reasons I left engineering, and now I'm all into the same thing. I'm talking about them physically in the classroom, not virtually. Okay. Let's see, Mark. Let's see. I need to go back. Okay. In the classroom, how I group my students is I group them with different levels of ability. I don't group students that are all good or all bad or whatever. And I try to make sure that I start getting a read on how the students' interests and strong points are from the very beginning. And then I group them where they can develop, someone that is really good in presentation, and someone that is good technically, and someone that is good. So they all have some strong points. And I try to blend those strong points so the team is a strong team, and they all can learn each other from their weaknesses and their strength. Let's see. For the design challenge, I'm going back to, is the design challenge just as there's or something else? Let's see. I'm trying to get through. And what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go through these questions again and then try to see if I missed anybody and go and back and answer those questions. I do want to share before I finish my email and my phone number, and you're welcome to email me with any questions you have. And also you can text me, and I'll be happy to collaborate with you. I want to make sure that you all know that I'm very grateful for you to join my session, and I hope that you get something. I will also be glad to share my presentation with you. If you email me that you want it, I'd be happy to do so as well. Any other questions? I agree with the importance of teaching EDD and POE. What will you change or implement now that we are doing classes remotely? What will you do with the materials for hands-on projects? Are you sending students home with kids? Sending students home with kids is an option, and I'm going to be working at. We are, to be honest with you, we are the first 3 weeks. We were directed by administrators that all they want is to make sure that we are technology okay, that the students and their students are enrolling into attending the classes. We're going to be doing attendance, and so during this time up to September, the first week of September, I will have the opportunity to continue designing lessons, and it's something that kids. We're looking into kids. We're looking into the distance learning activities and that the Project Lead the Way had developed. And also Solid Professor. I think I'm going to take the opportunity to start more depth into some of the technical certifications for my students during this time. And I'm hoping that we can go live in it very soon, because distance learning really hamper the ability for my students to learn, especially in the format in which it is, but we're trying to accommodate the best out of it. So that's where we're at right now when it comes to distance learning. We still have a lot of questions. I don't want my water down my program. I want my students to continue being able to be successful. And I think I'm already planning on how I'm going to do Hunch virtually. Most likely I might have to open the opportunity for students to do their own projects instead of having a group format at the very beginning, and go from there. Any other questions? Well, we're almost done with this session. I just want to wish you all a great day and happy more sessions for you. If I missed anything, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. If you want to share ideas, especially during this distance learning, I'm open for ideas. I love to learn new things and learn from people, other fellow teachers as well. So anything that you can share, I really appreciate it. And again, my email and phone number are posted. Thanks again, and thank you for joining.